Welcome to the Great Bay Special Collections Room. For the next few minutes, we are going to take a journey back in time to see how the families living along the shores of Great Bay use some of the amazing resources they found here. Now close your eyes and imagine. You are looking out over the bow of your ship. It rocks gently in the cool autumn breeze. You smell the salty air and are so excited by the sight of the tall green trees towering from the shore on the horizon. It has been 3 long months since you have seen land, ever since you and your family left England, leaving almost everything behind to come to the New World. Once the ship is close enough to shore, a small rowboat is dropped down to the water, and your father calls to you to join him and several others to go ashore and find food, clean water, and a place to make shelter. The little boat moves slowly against the current of a strong river, but soon you find yourselves in a large bay. Hundreds of ducks and geese can be seen in large black flocks upon the water. The sounds of their honking fill the air. As soon as the boat lands on the rocky shore, out of nowhere, a large buck with antlers as wide across as your outstretched arms runs along the edge of the forest and disappears. One of the men, known for his tracking skills, spies the tracks of a rabbit and some that appear to be turkey. The shells of oysters are as plentiful as pebbles on the beach, and at every turn, fish can be seen jumping right out of the water. The trees are so tall, you almost fall over backward trying to see their tops. Your father puts his hand on your shoulder and grins at you. This is going to be a great new place to live. Now you may open your eyes. This is what colonists saw as they reached the shores of New England in the 1600s. Now imagine, 200 years later, it is the 1800s. Many of the animals that colonists first saw are still plentiful. The people who have made their homes around Great Bay are constantly improving their methods and tools to hunt and fish and provide for their family. Join me as we discover what tools were used to harvest wildlife and the skills that were needed to be successful. So Kelsey, have you ever been hunting or fishing before?
Yes, I have been fishing.
Did you fish in freshwater or saltwater?
Freshwater.
What did you catch, do you know?
We caught sunfish.
Now here's the question. Did you release it or did you take it home and eat it for dinner?
We released them.
That's awesome. A lot of people do take advantage of fishing and hunting and providing for their families. It's something that's a tradition that's been happening around Great Bay for many, many years. Here we are sitting in the Parker cabin, one of the many cabins that were located around Great Bay, say around the 1920s up until the 1950s. These cabins were built by people who wanted to come and enjoy being next to the Great Bay. They would come in the summertime, they'd fish, they'd swim, they'd boat, and then as the fall came around, they would go waterfowl hunting. And as the ice came onto Great Bay, they would switch to ice fishing. Are you hardy enough for ice fishing?
I am.
Awesome. Well, if you fish in Great Bay, you might catch some smelt or maybe even some eels. There are 4 sections in our Great Bay Special Collections Room. There's trapping, shell fishing, ice fishing, and waterfowling. These are all different methods that people did around Great Bay to harvest the food that they needed to provide for their families. Which one do you think you'd like to go see first?
I think shell fishing.
All right, let's head over there. So this is the shell fishing section, and it includes things like going oystering with oyster tongs, going clamming with clam forks, and even going lobstering. How would you like to catch a lobster that was 44 pounds and 44 inches long? That is a giant lobster. All right, Kelsey, let's keep traveling along in the Great Bay Special Collections Room and see what's next.
All right.
If you went ice fishing on Great Bay, you might use a saw to cut a big hole in the ice or an auger to cut a smaller hole. You might have a bob house like this, made out of canvas, and you would pull it across the ice on sleds, tip it up, and you'd have a little bob house all ready to be warm out of the wind on Great Bay. This is where you might catch these smelt. Or you might go ice fishing for eels. Right over here, Kelsey, are all the different eel spears that we have found. So eel spears were made by the local blacksmith. You can see how they were all so different. They were put on the end of these long poles, and people would jab the eel spears down into the mud until they found a place where the eels were hiding. And then they would pull them up and have an eel fry for dinner. Do you think you could be an eel fisherman?
I'd like to try it.
Let's head over to our waterfowling section.
Let's go.
Now, if you were waterfowling on Great Bay, you might use what's called a sneak float. You would cover it with salt marsh grasses that you would harvest yourself so that you could blend into the edge of the salt marsh. At this time of year, being the fall, is when there are migrating waterfowl. So ducks and geese and other waterfowl would have been out there in Great Bay. And in your sneak float, you would be able to hunt them. The last section is our trapping section. Did you know that the beaver actually helped to expand our population across the country? Wow. People followed where the beavers were and hunted them with traps for their fur. So, Kelsey, I hope you were paying attention because we're going to do a little quiz. And you can play along back at school too. So I have 4 items in my basket. You can pick one, and they each belong in one of the sections we've already looked at. And you can see if you can figure out where they go. Go ahead, take a look.
I think I'll pick the dog.
So which section do you think the dog would be involved in?
Well,
Think
this
about hunting.
looks like a Labrador Retriever to me. So I think this belongs in waterfowling.
That's exactly right. Labrador retrievers, or other kinds of retrieving dogs, would have ridden in boats along with their masters. And as the waterfowlers hunted the ducks and geese, the dogs, with their warm coats and webbed feet, would have jumped out of the boat and retrieved the ducks and geese for them. That's right, Kelsey. Labrador Retriever would have belonged in waterfowling. Is that what you guessed back at school? All right, pick another item from the basket. What do you think that is?
This looks like it goes in shellfishing.
Why do you think that?
This looks like a buoy, which probably goes in water.
Yeah, that actually would have made that tool float so that if you dropped it over the edge of your boat, you wouldn't be out of luck. Let's head over to the shellfishing station and see how that tool worked. So that is a lobster bander. Now lobsters are cannibals and often fight with each other. So for a lobsterman to gather a lot of lobsters up together, he needed to protect them and himself. Have you ever been pinched by a lobster, Kelsey?
I haven't.
It hurts. All right, so the little elastic on the end there, put it right over the end of the lobster's claw, twist and release, and there you go. All right, 2 more items left, Kelsey. How does that fit? Ooh, I bet that would be warm. What section do you think that would belong in?
I think this goes in trapping.
Is that what you guessed? Let's head over there and take a look. So the outer fur, the light color you see here, the guard hairs, are what helped keep them warm and waterproof. And the fur, the very soft fur underneath is what your hat was made from. All right, Kelsey, we have 1 item left. What do you think?
It kind of looks like a spoon, but it has holes in it.
You probably wouldn't want to eat soup with that
Probably
at the Parker
not.
cabin.
Maybe it goes in ice fishing?
Oh, so to skim the ice out of the holes that you
Yeah.
drill with the auger. All right, let's go take a look. Yeah, so if you drilled a hole with this hand auger here, today people use power augers, which makes it very quick. You could use your little ice skimmer to scoop down in the hole and take out all the ice that the ice auger drilled through and make your hole look just like this one. So then you can drop your line down and catch some smelt.
Let's try ice fishing.
Oh, I think you have one, Kelsey.
Oh!
Ah. All right, Kelsey, you did so great that I'm going to give you your own Junior Conservation Officer badge.
Wow.
Thanks to New Hampshire Fish and Game and the laws they uphold, the habitat they manage, and the education they provide, people today can still enjoy hunting and fishing for food, enjoyment, and economic gain. Even if you don't hunt or fish, you still benefit from the work of the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department if you enjoy wildlife watching in your own backyard or in the woods on a hike. Species like the wild turkey, striped bass, and the Carter blue butterfly are success stories due to the work of conservation officers, biologists, and educators within the department. Thanks for joining us in the Great Bay Special Collections Room today. Kelsey, you ready to have some breakfast?
I'm ready.
All right, looks good.